Are you ready for some good news? The Holy Spirit in you never runs out. God's grace never runs out. God's love never runs out. God's joy and His provision never run out. When you are born again as a believer in Jesus Christ, you receive an amazing miracle. The presence of God comes and lives inside of you. He abides in you. And it is to say that you have the Spirit of Jesus Himself. We say we have Jesus in our heart. What we really mean is you have the Holy Spirit. And what I have found in my own Christian life and in so many over the years is that we don't even begin to know the depths of what we have in the presence of the Holy Spirit. Do you understand there are some things in this world that there is a limitless supply of? And this is the nature of God's grace. And this is the nature of God's Holy Spirit. His Spirit in you is God Himself, and therefore you have in you, Christians, that which is limitless. The power of the Holy Spirit is limitless. The love and joy and peace of the Holy Spirit is limitless. God's not operating by the same natural resources that we are. There is no scarcity, and God Himself in you will not run out. That's the picture I get from this story. That what do you have? I have a little bit of oil. Good. Start pouring that. Start pouring that. I promise you, you start walking in the Spirit, and you don't use up the Holy Spirit. You find more and more in Him. There's a principle that what you actually feed upon, you get more and more hungry for. If you were attracted to a drug, cocaine, and you take it in your body, you don't go, oh, okay, now I'm satisfied and I'm full. You start wanting more. Well, if it's that way in the ways of darkness and wickedness, how much more so in the things of the Spirit? This goes far to explain what Paul said to the Galatians, not be deceived. What you sow, you reap. If you sow to the flesh, you reap from the flesh. But if you sow into the Spirit, you'll reap from the Spirit. There is a way in which the more you flow in the Holy Spirit, the more you hunger for the Holy Spirit. It's like the image of this oil that's being poured out in all of these empty buckets. Empty vessel after empty vessel. As long as there was an empty vessel, the oil kept flowing. As long as there is some part of you that knows that you need God's grace, the oil will keep flowing. As long as there is some part of you that hungers and thirsts for His righteousness, you will be continually filled. The oil of the Holy Spirit never runs out. You're anointed of the Lord. Flow in it, walk in it, trust in it. Dare to pour out your own life in ministry and mission, and watch the Holy Spirit use you, and watch your own life be filled and filled and filled. You're not filled with the Holy Spirit one time. You are continually filled with the Holy Spirit. Be continually filled with the Holy Spirit. That's what Paul said. And in any event, this woman pours the oil in oil. Her sons keep bringing her all these buckets they borrowed from neighbors. Don't you love that? Miracle taking place in community. And these neighbors will one day know what it was that was used of the emptiness of their lives to end up blessing this widow. And Elisha says to her after all of this oil has been produced, he says, okay, now here's what you do. Go pay off your debt, and you and your sons live on the rest. That's the power of the gospel. What God has done for you in Jesus Christ is more than enough to pay the debt of your sin. But it is also more than enough for you to live on. The same grace that saves you sanctifies you. The same oil of the Holy Spirit that brings the forgiveness of God and the assurance of your salvation into your life, that same presence of the Holy Spirit is the means by which you live an abundant life. What I'm saying is that the grace of God forgives your sin, and the grace of God empowers you to overcome your sin. Take the oil and pay off the debt and live on it. This is what Jesus has done for us. His cross is a double cure. It means that Paul's words to the Romans in chapter 5 are for us. If, because of one man's trespass, death reigned through that one man, much more will those who receive the abundance of grace and the free gift of righteousness reign in life through the one man, Jesus Christ. You can know that you're forgiven, but more than that, you can reign in life by the power of the Holy Spirit. We are empty vessels who are filled with the Spirit, and the more that we are releasing the Spirit of God through our lives, the more we are filled and the more others are filled. There is no end to the power and glory and grace of the Spirit moving in any believer's life. If in the natural realm you could imagine that something you have does more than you realize, how much more so could you imagine the Spirit of God doing more in and through you than you can imagine right now? His love, power, and grace never runs out, and that's the gospel.